What if forgetting your keys wasn't just forgetfulness? What if missing a date or repeating yourself were signs of something deeper, something you shouldn't ignore? Dementia doesn't arrive overnight. It tiptoes in quietly, hiding behind what seems like normal aging. That's why recognizing the earliest signs is so important. It could change everything. Early intervention can slow its progression, give families more time to prepare, and even allow patients to take control of their lives while they still can. But how do you tell the difference between harmless forgetfulness and the red flags of something more serious? In this video, we'll reveal 7 early signs of dementia that too often go unnoticed. These aren't the ones you hear about in passing. They're subtle, easy to dismiss, and often explained away as stress or tiredness. Yet catching them early could help someone you love, or even yourself, get the care they need before it's too late. And here's something you might not expect. Some of these signs have nothing to do with memory. So grab a notepad, or just take a mental one, because this video could be one of the most important things you watch today. Let's dive into the first sign, one that many people shrug off until it starts interfering with their everyday life. 1. Memory loss that disrupts daily life. We all forget things. Where we left our phone, the name of a movie, what we walked into the kitchen for, that's normal. But memory loss that disrupts daily life, that's different. Imagine this. Someone forgets appointments. Not just once or twice, but often. They rely heavily on notes or reminders, and sometimes even those aren't enough. They start repeating the same stories in the same conversation. Or they ask a question, then ask it again just minutes later. This kind of forgetfulness isn't just annoying, it's disorienting, and it's one of the most common early signs of dementia. What makes it so tricky is that it starts slowly. A person might blame stress or poor sleep. Friends and family might say, "Oh, we all forget things as we get older." But if it starts affecting work, social life, or independence, it's time to pay attention. This isn't about forgetting where you left your car keys. It's about forgetting you even have a car. Coming up next is a sign that hides behind everyday tasks, but when you notice it, it can reveal a bigger problem. 2. Challenges in planning or solving problems. Have you ever struggled to follow a new recipe or balance your checkbook? That happens. But when simple problems start to feel like puzzles and familiar routines suddenly seem confusing, that could be more than just distraction. People in the early stages of dementia might find it harder to follow a plan, especially one that involves numbers or multiple steps. Paying bills becomes frustrating. Managing a budget feels overwhelming. Even keeping track of a medication schedule can be a struggle. This isn't a one-time thing. It's a pattern, small mistakes that happen again and again. For example, someone might start a task like preparing dinner, and then walk away halfway through. Or they may find themselves rereading the same sentence, unable to follow the thread of what they were doing. What's really going on is that their brain is having a harder time organizing information. Problem solving and planning require mental coordination, and dementia disrupts that. If you notice someone who once handled these tasks with ease now becoming confused or agitated by them, don't dismiss it. It might be one of the early warning signs. Next, we'll look at a sign that's easy to misinterpret, especially if someone seems physically healthy and active. 3. Difficulty completing familiar tasks. Imagine making a cup of coffee, something you've done every morning for years. But now, suddenly, you forget the steps. You pour water into the wrong place or can't remember which button to press. That's not just forgetfulness, it's disorientation. People in the early stages of dementia may struggle to complete everyday tasks that used to come naturally. It's not because they're lazy or distracted, it's because their brain is having trouble connecting the dots. It might start small. They get lost driving to a place they visited 100 times. Or they stop following a favorite game because they can't remember the rules. Even preparing a simple meal or using the TV remote becomes confusing. This is more than occasional absent-mindedness. It's the brain forgetting how to do what it once knew by heart. For loved ones watching from the outside, these moments can seem like clumsiness or carelessness. But inside, the person is likely feeling scared and frustrated. They know something's off, even if they can't explain what. And that's why this sign, difficulty with familiar tasks, matters so much. It signals a deeper shift that needs attention. Coming up next is a sign that can look like jet lag, but it's far more serious. 4. Confusion with time or place. Have you ever woken up and felt unsure what day it was? That happens, but with dementia, this disorientation doesn't go away after a few seconds. It lingers. A person may forget what season it is, what year, or even where they are. They might not remember how they got somewhere or why they're there in the first place. This confusion can happen in familiar places, like their own neighborhood. They may take a walk and suddenly not know how to get home. Or they might sit in their living room and ask, "When are we going home?" even though they're already there. It's more than losing track of time, it's losing a sense of time altogether. This sign is especially dangerous because it can lead to getting lost, feeling unsafe, or even panicking in public. People who experience this often start to withdraw because they're afraid of getting confused or embarrassed. And while some of us may joke about forgetting what day it is after a long vacation, the difference here is consistency and context. When someone is frequently unsure about time or place and seems genuinely distressed by it, it's time to take it seriously. Up next is a lesser-known symptom that you might never associate with memory loss, but it can appear long before more obvious signs do. 5. Trouble with visual images and spatial relationships. Most people don't think of vision problems as a sign of dementia, but they can be, and it's not about needing glasses. This issue is about the brain's ability to process visual information. People with early dementia might have trouble judging distances, recognizing faces, or understanding what they're seeing. They may misread a pattern on the floor as a whole or struggle to follow a moving object on a screen. One of the most noticeable examples. Driving. They might have trouble judging how close another car is, get confused by road signs, or even freeze at a green light because something just doesn't feel right. In some cases, they may avoid reading because the words seem to move or blur. Not because of eyesight, but because their brain can't organize the information properly. What's happening here is a breakdown in spatial awareness. It can affect balance, depth perception, and even navigation in familiar spaces. If someone starts bumping into furniture more often or seems uneasy in places they used to move through with ease, this could be a subtle sign their brain is struggling to interpret their surroundings. And this can be terrifying for them. Imagine suddenly not trusting what your eyes are telling you. Next, we'll look at a sign that affects conversation and how it quietly erodes someone's confidence in expressing themselves. 6. Problems with words in speaking or writing. We all lose a word now and then. It's on the tip of my tongue. That's normal, but when language starts slipping away regularly, when someone pauses mid-sentence, forgets simple words, or substitutes the wrong ones, it can signal a deeper issue. People in the early stages of dementia may struggle to join conversations. They might stop talking mid-thought because they've lost track of what they were saying, or they might repeat themselves without realizing it. Sometimes they even create their own words for things they can't remember. Imagine trying to describe a watch and calling it a time ring, or forgetting the name of a loved one, not once, but often. Writing becomes challenging too. Notes or texts might have odd grammar, missing words, or repeated phrases. And when asked about it, the person might seem confused or frustrated. This breakdown in communication often leads to embarrassment, so they may withdraw from social situations, afraid of making a mistake. It's heartbreaking, but also revealing. Language is deeply tied to our identity, and when it starts to fray, it's one of the strongest indicators that something more serious might be happening. Next, we'll talk about the final early sign, one that often gets misread as just being in a mood. when it's really something much deeper. Yevon, withdrawal from work or social activities. Have you noticed someone who used to be outgoing suddenly becoming distant? Maybe they stop going to work events, skip family gatherings, or avoid phone calls altogether. This isn't just a bad mood or a busy schedule. It can be an early sign of dementia. When people start having trouble with memory, problem-solving, or communication, they often become self-conscious. They know something feels off, even if they can't explain it. So they pull back from situations where that struggle might be exposed. They might stop hobbies they once loved because they can't follow the steps anymore. Or they might sit quietly in a group, afraid to speak up and get it wrong. This withdrawal isn't about laziness or disinterest. It's about fear, confusion, and trying to protect their dignity. And what's especially tough is that others may mistake it for depression, stubbornness, or simply getting older. But when someone consistently pulls away from people and activities they used to enjoy, it's a red flag that shouldn't be ignored. Because staying socially and mentally active is one of the best ways to keep the brain healthy, and retreating from life can accelerate the very decline they're afraid of. Now that we've covered the 7 key signs, let's wrap up with a message of hope and action. Dementia is a difficult topic. It's scary, emotional, and sometimes feels overwhelming. But knowledge is power, and recognizing the signs early can make a life-changing difference. Let's recap the 7 early signs we talked about. Memory loss that disrupts daily life. Challenges in planning or solving problems. Difficulty completing familiar tasks. Confusion with time or place. Trouble with visual images and spatial relationships. Problems with words in speaking or writing. Withdrawal from work or social activities. These signs do not mean someone definitely has dementia, but they do mean it's time to talk to a doctor. The earlier a diagnosis is made, the more options there are for treatment, support, and planning. And here's something important. Noticing these signs isn't about labeling or judging someone. It's about caring enough to pay attention and stepping in before things get worse. If you recognize any of these signs in someone you love, or even in yourself, don't ignore them. Reach out, ask questions, get support. You're not alone in this. If you found this video helpful, give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel. We share health insights, real stories, and tips that help families stay informed and empowered. And, most importantly, share this video. You never know who might need it.